The Vedder Cup. Some say it's the greatest rivalry in sports. Okay, maybe no one's ever said that. But nevertheless, the Padres and Mariners are getting together this weekend, and Javi and I are going to tell you all you need to know coming up.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's everyone's favorite time of the year, the annual Locked On Mariners, Locked On Padres crossover episode, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Ty Dane Gonzales, host of the Locked On Mariners podcast, alongside my good friend and host of the Locked On Padres podcast, Javier Reyes. How's it going, Javi?
Doing good, man. Thriving, vibing, exciting. That was a horrible. I couldn't think of another word, but we're doing good, man. Padres at the time of recording this walk off from Tatis. We don't know how the Angels game is going, so this is Javier from the past as well as Ty from the past. But I'm excited because you know what? I'm into it. I'm into gimmicks sometimes. Vedder Cup, great thing. I don't care. I'm all for it, and I'll be in San Diego for at least one of these games. So couldn't be more excited, man.
Yeah, so we're recording this Wednesday afternoon. So this is post Mariners walk off on the Yankees pre-series finale with the Yankees. So we'll see how that goes. This episode is brought to you, of course, by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off your first purchase. So, Javi, tell me, what's going on with the Padres right now? I mean, they're obviously playing really well. Tatis just walked off the Angels, like you mentioned. Tell me a little bit about just how this season has gone so far.
I think quick summary is just that they've been better than people kind of expected. Obviously, they have a lot of stars, but the, dare I say, a little bit overemphasized claim can sometimes be true, which is the lack of depth that was still going to be an issue for this team. But they got off to their best start in franchise history, right? Like they absolutely, they swept the Braves. And then apparently killed Jerks and Profar in the process. Then they swept the Guardians right after that, right? Like they started off so hot. And they've had a little bit of a bad spell lately. We're going to talk about exactly why. But for the most part, this has just been a team that still has a lot of the aura. And I think that the biggest, if you could boil everything down to one thing, it's just that Fernando Tatis Jr. is back, is basically the number one bullet point when talking about this team. It's just he's walking more. The other day, the walk-off hit, talked about this on my show on Wednesday, just like for him to have a leg kick and adjust mid-pitch and then be like, actually, never mind, and then plan it again and then be able to put his hips back into the ball. Like the talent is crazy, and he really is an MVP candidate in the National League, and I could not be more excited because not too long ago, it was Shohei Ohtani and then it was Tatis for like easily the biggest, most high-profile players in the league. Then some things and it goes way over the following years. But now it seems like he's just back, man. And I could not be more excited.
That's really good to hear. I love Fernando Tatis Jr. And when he's going, the game is better for it. Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, my Mariners are in first place right now.
Yes, they are.
I'm not really sure how they've gotten to this point, considering how many injuries they've suffered along the way. They have been just decimated by injuries. And I mean, now I'm literally seeing this as we're recording. JP Crawford has been scratched from the lineup today. So we'll see what's going on with that. Apparently he looked okay in the clubhouse and played catch early. So hopefully maybe he's just a little sick or something. So, but something to keep in mind here ahead of the Padres series, in case that's a little more serious. But Bryce Miller just landed on the IL. Logan Gilbert and George Kirby are on the IL. Now it looks like they're close to returning. Kirby is supposed to be back next Thursday, it seems. But Luke Raley's on the IL. Victor Robles is on the IL. Ryan Bliss, the list goes on and on and on. But this team won 9 series in a row. They did just recently get swept by the Blue Jays. We'll see what happens in this Yankees series, but they were able to stop the bleeding last night with their walk-off win over the Yankees to end their losing skid of 4 games. And the formula for how they're winning games right now is basically what they need to keep in place here for the next at least couple weeks until the rotation gets healthier. And they're actually pretty good offensively, which is a crazy thing to say considering how little they added to this roster in the offseason and how bad this offense was for the majority of 2024. But this offense, Hobby, is incredibly annoying for opposing hitters to face, or opposing pitchers to face rather. They're walking a lot. They're taking a ton of pitches. I mean, last night against Max Fried, they had a 5-pitch first inning against Max Fried. And then from that point forward, they just dragged out long at bats, fouled off a ton of pitches. I mean, even Donovan Solano, who we're both familiar with, very much familiar with, he's been the worst hitter in baseball this year. It seems like the cliff has finally come for old Donnie Barrels.
Our boy. I was going to bring him up.
But even last night against Max Fried, he had a couple of long at bats, including like a 12-pitch at bat where he was fouling off a bunch of pitches. They are just annoying opposing pitchers, and it feels like they actually do better against the best pitchers in the world right now. Like, they have won games in which Garrett Crochet has started, Tarek Skubal has started, Nathan Eovaldi has started, now Max Fried. Even though they didn't give him his first loss of the year, they still won that game. And they're getting production all throughout the lineup. I mean, Julio got off to a slow start. He's starting to lock in a bit, but obviously Cal Raleigh is off to an incredible start. Jorge Polanco has been amazing. Randy Rosarena's had an amazing start, but it's also the bottom third of the lineup, really, or just the bottom half of the lineup. Rowdy Tellez has been he's been able to contribute. Guys like Miles Mastroboni and Leo Rivas and guys like that. Now Leody Taveras has been added to the fold, and he's contributed offensively. So it's been a real team effort. And I mean, again, with all the injuries they've suffered, they've needed it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny, and I'll give you after the break like my perspective of like what I think are the most interesting things I think about the Mariners. I have two things, but number one is also just like bizarro team right now. I mean, in terms of what we are used to from Seattle, right? This is a team that is 17th in batting average, which, by the way, considering that they are 9th in runs, 6th in home runs, and 9th in on base, it shows you for the regular season. I do think that like this is why you build your team towards home runs and whatnot. It just helps you out, I think, in the regular season. I have my questions for them for being a contender, and it doesn't have to do with their ERA stats right now because, like you said, with so much of the rotation hurt, but in general, this is a team that has really seemingly just kind of put it together, and it feels like we may finally get like that moment where, you know what, the A's might be the next scariest team behind Seattle, right? Like that is kind of where we're heading, at least in this bonkers division in a lot of ways. And then you've got the Astros, who are kind of just, they've just got the aura. They've just got the, like, we're the Astros, and everyone's like, but they're not. But you're right. We can't. It's the Astros.
I mean, like last year it looked like they
Miami
were cooked,
Heat.
and then
The Miami Heat thing. The Astros culture hashtag. Maybe that's coming in. But just a really interesting start, and I can't wait for after the break to just talk about exactly like I think more of the interesting things for both of our teams.
All right, well, we'll get into that in just a moment. But first, a reminder: this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the energy of an MLS match, the chants, the atmosphere, the last-minute goals. If you want to experience it all live, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLS tickets. Plus, ticket prices actually drop as kickoff gets closer, so you can score amazing seats at a great price. I love that I can see the exact view from my seat before I buy, so there's no surprises when I get to the stadium. Game Time also has event cancellation protection and even job loss assurance, so I can buy with confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners, Locked On Padres crossover episode with myself, Ty Dane Gonzales, and my good friend here, Javier Reyes. The M's and the Dads squaring off down in San Diego for 3 this weekend for instant reactions after each of the games. Be sure to tune in to the Mariners and Padres postcasts, available on both the Locked On Mariners and Padres YouTube and podcast feeds. So, Javi, you told me that you had some interesting takeaways from this Mariners ball club.
First of all, I want to toot my own horn. I was really surprised that Jorge Polanco wasn't good last year. I really was, because up to that point, this was a guy who I saw the acquisition. Don't get me wrong. And I imagine you guys talk all day about ownership and like, why aren't you just going after the big fish? Instead, you do these nice little moves that are nice, but like, go do something more. It's like the Brewers are my National League equivalent of like, yeah, congrats on Rowdy Tellez and improving the outfield a little bit. The Dodgers got Freddie Freeman. What are you doing? Right. Yeah. So I think that with this team, though, Jorge Polanco, a solid guy. I mean, up until last year, that guy was basically an above average WRC plus for 3 years, 124, 118, 117. Then 92, I drafted him in every fantasy league because he was going obscenely low last year. Yeah. And I looked like an idiot. This year so far, 194 WRC plus. He's got 10 home runs, though. That's like, are we heading for like the 33 home run thing that he had in Minnesota? Because the Minnesota Twins had a stretch where they just were breaking all major league records in home runs. The Polanco thing, I think, has been a big deal. Is there anything about him that you're like, this is like a legitimate thing, or is this just kind of a hot start that might cool off?
I mean, he's been so hot that, it's naturally going to cool off. I mean, he was literally like the second best hitter in the league behind Aaron Judge until like a few days ago. Like he was like basically every category better than Ohtani. Like that's not going to last the whole year. Most likely, I mean, would love to see him try, but most likely that's not going to last. But yeah, I mean, last year, he was playing through a partially torn patella tendon, and that's not an injury that you see often in baseball. That is an injury that I have seen often in football, though, especially with the Seahawks a couple of times. Will Dissly and Jimmy Graham come to mind, having suffered that injury. And those guys just didn't look the same coming back. Now, obviously, very, very different sports, but still, that's like the only real reference point that I had with that injury. So when they signed him and then they said, well, he's going to play third base for us, a position that he had only played for about 100 or so innings in his entire career, I was like, I don't like where this is heading. And so, the idea there was, okay, well, you're going to sacrifice the defense at third base. You had really good defensive production out of Josh Rojas last year. You just had no offense whatsoever. So you're sacrificing the defense in hopes of getting a much better offensive profile at third base. Well, 4 games in, I can't remember what it was. Polo hurts his side, and now he can only DH. And that honestly was kind of a blessing for this team in disguise, because that allowed them to eventually call up Ben Williamson, who's been a mixed bag at the plate, but he's been incredible defensively. So they've made a massive upgrade there. And now Polo has just DH'd, and he's hitting the crud out of the ball right now. So he's healthy now. That's really the key here. He's fully healthy. He feels a lot better in the box. He feels a lot more confident in the box. He's made some changes in his setup where he's just firing on fastballs now. And the fastball was a big issue for him last year. Now he's basically catching every fastball that's thrown in the middle of the plate. So that's been huge, and he's doing damage with those pitches more often than not. He is crushing mistakes at the moment. Now, does that last for the next 5 months? Who knows? Maybe there is a down point here, and he has cooled off a little bit over the last few days. It does seem like he might have re-aggravated the side thing as well, because he was able to hit from the right side of the plate last week, and which is something that he wasn't doing after he was only exclusively hitting from the left side. He also was able to play some second base last week. That hasn't happened over the last few days, though. So he's been exclusively DHing, and he's only been DHing against righties again. So not really sure what's going on there. But yeah, specifically DHing from the left side, he's looked incredibly comfortable. And I mean, it's been huge for this team, because again, they kind of have to win through offense right now, which is an insane thing to say about the Seattle Mariners.
Baseball is very funny. And for the Padres, like, I do think there is something to be said for like fixing positions around players, or, I'm not saying that this is, I don't want to get into like the Rafael Devers talk or anything like that, but like it does clearly have an impact sometimes on how players do, whether it makes sense or not. And for the Padres, a little bit similar is the explosion of Gavin Sheets has been their big thing. Gavin Sheets, righty killer. He is selling out for power, but it's working, right? So he's going to strike out a lot. But against this Mariners team, you might see him do pretty good against righties in this series. That'll be a little bit of a thing that they have to address going forward. The Padres maybe get themselves a lefty bat. But he's just kind of out of nowhere, was really stinky for the White Sox over these past 3 years, and then all of a sudden blows up in spring training. And I just hate that, there's some person out there. I hate when someone overreacts to 20 things, but then one thing came true. So then they want to, you know what I mean? But there's one person out there who's like, I told you, Gavin Sheets. And it turns out this is a guy who every time he swings the bat, you're like, he's trying to get under it. He's trying to lift it. He might be a fringe 17 to 20 home run guy this year, and at least just hit for power and get on base and whatnot and just do damage for a Padres team that has a lot of questions with some of their offensive players, Jay Cronenworth and Xander Bogaerts, especially the latter being the big one. The next thing I want to point out to you real quick, you know, we already know Elias Diaz, Martin Maldonado, and then sometimes Luis Campusano, the second best catching quadrant in all of baseball. Everybody's talked about this. All the best people with all the best qualifications. They're actually saying it's the best of the decade. But I think it's one of those players that was staring us in the face the whole time. That's what drives me insane about not expecting this. It's my fault as a baseball person. But it just feels like over how things had developed over these past few years. You look at William Contreras, you look at even to a degree JT Realmuto, right, getting paid a lot. You look at Adley Rutschman, the top number one prospect, who by the way did amazing his first year. And then you have Will Smith. You've got all these guys. The fact that Cal Raleigh just has not only become the best catcher in baseball, he ran in, snatched it, and no one can even see where second place is right now. What has the Cal experience been like, especially for a guy that they paid and then immediately showed up? I imagine that must be probably the big thing that not inflating, that sounds bad, but a big part of why their offense has been so deadly so far.
Well, yeah, it's huge. I mean, right now he might be a 40 home run guy this year. He's taken yet another step offensively, which is insane. He's been hitting better from the right side of the plate, which has been like, it's hard to say that he has a problem area, but that's been, I guess, if you want to identify one that has been his problem area. But you're talking about a platinum glove winning catcher who can hit 30 plus bombs. That's insane, right?
Yeah.
Like that's insane. Yeah. So, and on top of that, he posts. Now he plays way more than he probably should. The Mariners have kind of run him into the ground, and considering that he's probably going to be Team USA's catcher next year, that concerns me about all the workload that's going to be put on those knees in 2026. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, this season has been incredible for Cal. He's an incredible baseball player. He's
really wild. It's really wild. Like, I mean, he had the big hit to send them into the playoffs, right? Like that was the shot heard around the world. This man is 16th in expected weight on base among all players right now. Like so Julio is like the face of the team, right? He's the superstar. He's like when people think about the Seattle Mariners, they think about Julio Rodriguez. Cal's by far the best player on the Seattle Mariners, though. Like by far, bar none. And like you said, he is by far the best catcher in the game right now. It's really not even close. I mean, like the only argument that I'm willing to hear on anyone is maybe Will Smith. Yeah, and maybe at some point, whatever the heck is going on with Adley Rutschman gets fixed, because I'm not gonna sit here and
it's been like 6 months now, though.
I know. That's the thing, though. But like, in fairness, it's like there's a reason people were talking about this guy for years. But if you told me that it would not just be like a race, like not even close between who's like the future best catcher in this league, it's really kind of surprising. But it's annoying because it stared me in the face the whole time. Wait, good defense, and it's gonna guaranteed at least hit 27 home runs at least, right? Like every year. It was staring me right in the face, and I hate myself for it. It's like if Salvador Perez was actually good.
He shouldn't have won the Silver Slugger over Cal last year. Just putting that out there. But batting average, shut up. Anyway, we are going to dive into the pitching matchups in this series. There is one guy in particular that I want to ask you about, Javi, in just a moment. But first, a reminder: this episode of the Locked On Mariners and Locked On Padres crossover, I almost just said the Locked On Mariners podcast, is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I mean, think about what you could do with $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. You can join me on the Knicks bandwagon all the way to the finals, or bet on Anthony Edwards to eliminate another legend in the playoffs. And if you're new to FanDuel, now is the perfect time to sign up. Head over to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners, Locked On Padres crossover here with Ty Dane Gonzales and Javier Reyes. And Javi, these pitching matchups, they are definitely in favor of the San Diego Padres because this Mariners rotation is, again, decimated by injuries. And that might honestly be an understatement. It's gross right now, man. It's really gross. So the Mariners are going to be throwing, at least right now, this is what roster resource says. We'll see if maybe they skip a start here, maybe move Brian Wu into the last game of the series with the off day on Thursday, which has already happened. So you guys watching probably already know what's happening. But right now, roster resource says that Jonathan Diaz is pitching in game 1 for the Mariners, which is yikes city. Then it's Logan Evans, who's been a mixed bag in his first 3 starts of his career, and then Emerson Hancock, who has also been a mixed bag. He had straight quality starts sandwiched in between 2 absolute terrible starts, blow up starts. So we'll see how that goes. But the guy that I want to ask you about here, Javi, is Stephen Kolek, who is starting game 1 of the series. Stephen Kolek, I'm not sure if you know this, was a Rule 5 pickup by the Mariners a few years ago. He was just minor league fodder for them. Didn't think twice about this guy. And he has pitched in 2 games for your Padres, 14 and 1/3 innings, and he hasn't given up a run yet. 2.41 FIP, 6.91 Ks per 9, 2.51 walks per 9. Now, to be fair, one of those starts is against the Colorado Rockies, and Javi, I think even you could shut out the Colorado Rockies.
I pretend I do not see it. Yeah,
it was a complete game shutout too, which is pretty crazy. So tell me about Stephen Kolek, the former Mariners farmhand.
I think that Stephen Kolek, he'd been gaining a little bit of hype spring training. They said that his pitch mix, not the same skills, obviously, but the pitch mix, a little bit similar to Michael King, who has turned out very good for this team. And the 2 of them working together a lot. And I think that what happened is while he did look okay in the spring, they were like, you know what? He's still a reliever making the jump to starting pitching. So let's send him down to AAA, give him some reps. Randy Vasquez will come in. Kyle Hart, who they brought over internationally, he'll come in and do some stuff. Kyle Hart got sent down. With Stephen Kolek, I think that this is probably, when it's all said and done, going to be the number 5 starter on this team. And I don't say that as a derogatory. I think that when you have the stuff that he does and you can generate barely any barrels, barely any hard hit rate, and you're going to get enough strikeouts to make it by, and most importantly, the ground ball rate. He's been doing this for a while, and there's a reason why, even when he had I'm going to say near a 6 ERA in relief appearances last year, that the Padres kept trusting him. They believe that the ground ball stuff just wasn't going his way, which is weird considering the Padres had pretty good interior defense last year. But whatever. I think that he's a number 5 with number 4-ish upside, and I think he could potentially be huge for this team, especially when Yu Darvish comes back. That rotation is something that you can contend with Cease looking a lot better lately, had a 10 strikeout game the other day, had a 9 strikeout game against the Yankees. Then you've got Michael King. Then you've got Nick Pivetta, who's maybe going to be an all-star at this point. And then you've got Darvish, who, while he's a little bit more name value than actual value these days, if you're in a playoff game, you can trust that guy. That dude's going to matter in the big games as the season goes along, as he was great against the Dodgers in Game 7 last year that the Padres lost, but we don't have to talk about that. I like him. I like him a lot, but even though it was against the Rockies, I have to say, and maybe this is me going Padre mode. Look, it's only your first career start. And also you had to sit on the bench for a half hour because the Padres are scoring 28 runs, every 3 seconds. In fairness, it's a little something, just a tiny bit, you know what I mean? That was really great, but a complete game for you to do that. It's just really mightily impressive. But with this Mariners team, I'm going to be very curious because, again, he's a ground ball guy. So are the Cal Raleighs, are the Randy Arozarenas, another name value guy? Randy Arozarena's when name value goes right, where you're like, you know what? I don't care. He's cool. I trust him. Boom.
Oh, he's sick.
Being great
he's also been like the clutchest hitter on the Mariners this year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've been seeing it.
He's had like 6 game time. Yeah.
Yeah. He's so sick. He's so sick.
He's so dope. Like, I love him.
With this Mariners lineup, though, it'll be a really good test case for him because they hit a lot of home runs. I get that.
Yeah.
But with his ability to just keep it down, especially in Petco Park, which is more of a pitcher-friendly confine, I'm curious to see how it goes. But it is a team with really good players on there, a lot of good veteran type of stuff on there. I would not be surprised if he gets hit up a little bit, but I don't think he's going to get killed. I don't. And even if he does, I'm feeling okay against Logan Evans. I'm feeling okay against him.
Yeah, for Evans, he's got to have the slider going, and you just kind of hope one of the other pitches is viable and he gets value out of it. Same thing with Hancock right now. The sweeper has been actually kind of a revelation over the last few starts for him. The sinker has a lot of life, but it's been getting hit, and the command's been really iffy. That's kind of what did him in against the Yankees the other night. His best pitch though is his changeup. So, but you need a good fastball in order for the changeup to play up. So, he's going to have to make that sinker work at least a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. And, Diaz, I mean, you just kind of hope and pray, that it doesn't get super ugly there. And at the very least, he gives this team some length and saves the bullpen for the next 2 games. But, and again, we'll know by the time that you guys are watching this at home. But if it were up to me, I would skip the Diaz turn in the rotation, or rather the Bryce Miller turn in the rotation, and just bump up Evans to game 1, Hancock to game 2, and then Brian Wu to game 3. Because at that point, Jonathan Diaz is going to pitch against the White Sox. I'd much rather have him go pitch against the White Sox than the Padres. So we'll see if they actually do that. I mean, it's May. I can't foresee Dan Wilson is actually going to do that. That would be too smart for him. Nick Pivetta, Michael King taking the bump for the Padres in games 2 and 3 respectively. And so, it's going to be an interesting case study here with the Mariners offense against these guys. Can they frustrate these guys enough like they have done with so many good pitchers this year so far? And then, with Kolek, that's not a guy that has a ton of swing and miss here, or at least early on. The Mariners have been really good at fouling pitches off and putting, balls in play. So something kind of has to give there. So we'll see how it goes. Any closing thoughts before we get out of here, Javi?
My closing thought: all of you that left the Tatis bandwagon, I'm noticing you.
This is scary.
I'm really noticing you, man. I'm really noticing. That's all I'm going to say. I'm noticing. Pretending that you never left. Unbelievable. These feckless stugs out here, man. I've had enough. But can't wait for the series. Can't wait to watch Michael King in person. And can't wait to try out some Mexican food this weekend and hopefully get a great series. Enjoying this Vedder Cup, right? Really, really fun. Even if it's
apparently,
a gimmick, I'm all
apparently there's actually like a trophy now, right? Like they made a trophy.
Yes. I'm a fan of 2 more gimmicks, man. Man, we play baseball for 6 months. It's okay if we just have one thing that's weird. Who cares? I'm all for it. Let's do it.
I mean, the Mariners could actually use like a real rivalry. I mean, the Astros are the closest thing that they have.
I know what you mean, yeah.
And then like the Blue Jays are kind of second. Someone asked us like, who are the top 3 Mariners rivals? And I was like, I can name you 2. Like the Angels, I guess. Like I don't know
who the Padres rival is, man. And they will not be said on today's podcast because I'm in a good mood. I will not say it. I will not speak their name. Last closing thought as well. Underrated storyline in baseball. Arguably the 2 best rotations in the game, completely hampered by injuries right now. That's why you play the games. It's pretty crazy.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners, Locked On Padres crossover for Javier Reyes. I'm Ty Dane Gonzales. Enjoy the series this weekend. Peace.